Hey, what is up guys, it's Rocker Girl here, and today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually do. I plan for this video to be the start of a series, so to speak. If you guys have been on this channel for a good little while, you know that about a month ago I played Paladins for the very first time, and since then I've pretty much been playing the absolute crap out of the game. I have about a day and 3 hours put in on the game. It would be much more than that, but the past couple of weeks have been really busy for me, and I haven't had a lot of time to necessarily play any video games, to be honest, or do any recording or anything of that sort. But if any of you guys were in my stream that one time, you know that lately I've been trying to level up characters to get into competitive play. And just recently, Paladins had an update, and in that update they added a new champion named Ash. So basically what I'm getting at for today is I want to start a series where with every update that we get a new champion in Paladins, I'll do a first game impressions video. And I decided that rather than do like, you know, first 30 minutes or first couple of games, first 5 games or something like that, I'll limit it to just one singular game, because for me, the most honest that you're going to get out of me as far as my impressions on a character is going to be that first game. Now this is going to be, of course, it's probably going to have some limitations to it, considering if you watched any of my earlier videos, you know that for the most part, my internet in my house likes to disrespect me in my gaming time. So if I have a game where I'm not having a whole lot of lagging or a whole lot of, you know, disconnecting or anything like that, I will use that game as my first game for the most part, because I can't necessarily judge whether or not the character plays pretty well, in my opinion, if I can't actually play the game. So some of her movesets starting out are her right trigger is burst cannon. That's her main attack, so to speak. And it says she fires a shrapnel round every 0.9 seconds that explodes in an AoE, dealing 400 damage. Already, her damage is pretty, I would say, pretty good compared to some of the other characters off the bat. Her left trigger is kinetic burst, which she basically charges up the her weapon to deliver a stronger version of the regular attack. Well, oh no, actually no, not a stronger version of the regular attack. It actually, okay, it instantly explodes in a frontal cone, dealing 300 damage and applying a knockback. So it's not necessarily stronger in a sense of damage, but it's stronger in a sense of backing the enemies up. Then there's her right bumper, which is the shoulder bash, which is basically she hurtles forward, hitting an enemy, dealing 800 damage and applying a strong knockback. A lot of her moves actually are based around like knockbacks and stuff like that. So I would say that she's a pretty good character as it pertains to getting point control, because with these knockback moves it's a little bit easier to get enemies off of the point and make room for your team to come in and take control over the point. Before I get into, oh, well, let me finish her move set. She also has a deployable shield that rolls up and like advances forward in front of you, and it has 5,000 health on the shield, and her ultimate is called Assert Dominance, and she plants down her flag or banner or what have you, and it deals 350 damage to anybody nearby on impact, and as well as creates a damage immunity zone for Ash herself that lasts about 8 seconds. So it's a really, I would say it's a pretty good ult per se. It's very useful in the sense of, like, once again, like point dominance. I would have to say that overall, with my experience, before I get too deep into it, I would say overall with my experience with Ash, she seems to be a very good character to play as it pertains to any of the game modes that have to deal with capturing points. I have not had a chance to play her in survival quite yet, but these are just my first impressions based on her in Payload. And she seems to be a very good character as it pertains to backing up the enemy team away from the point and making room for your team to come in and take the point and capture the payload. So before I get into what it was like playing her, I want to talk about her design. And for me, I really dig the design. I dig the hair, I dig the
30 seconds remaining.
Armor that she wears, I dig the gun. The gun that she has is, at a first glance you would think it's pretty similar to she's pretty similar to a Zarya from Overwatch, but even though this is coming from me not playing Zarya, this is from observations of Zarya, she doesn't play in much the same way as Zarya does from what I can tell. But I dig the overall aesthetic of that. She's a really cool looking character. She's got a lot of the features and stuff that made me like Tyra right off the bat. Tyra is like a very dominant female character. She seems to be very like strong and with a touch of femininity in her design, but overall, you know, she looks like she's not afraid to get in there and do damage by herself. That being said, I'm going to get into the gameplay of Ashe. So off the bat, I will say that I was a little bit hesitant with playing Ashe because she's a frontline character. And the only frontline character I've had the chance to play so far has been Fernando. And for me, it was absolutely it was an unenjoyable experience. I won't say it was terrible, but it wasn't as enjoyable of an experience as when I play flank characters such as Skye or DPS characters such as Victor or Tyra. And the reason being is that with Fernando, at least for me anyways, he plays kind of slow. He walks pretty slow, and I understand how he works as like I understand his position in a team as it pertains to capturing points and stuff like that, because he has a lot of health first of all, so it takes a lot to bring him down, and then if you pair him with a good enough healer, basically he can stand on the point and contest all day long, and his shield gives everyone even more of a health boost, so to speak, and protection, because it's a really huge shield with a pretty high damage point. But for me, he's just not the character to play. I prefer to be like in the meat of the battle, and it's maybe because I come from a background of playing Call of Duty, but I prefer to be like in the heat of the battle, in the face of the enemy, getting in there, taking people out to back them up, get them knocked back into spawn so we have more time to get on the payload, capture the point and stuff like that. I would say I play pretty aggressively, more to speak. But yeah, because of that, in my experience with Fernando, I thought that Ashe would be similar, and I feared that I wouldn't have a lot of fun playing with her right off the bat. But boy, was I wrong. Ashe turns out to be one of the most fun players, one of the most fun champions to play, in my opinion, so far. I haven't had a chance to play with every champion so far, but she, besides people like Tyra and Victor, who basically start me off from somewhere that I'm familiar, she has turned out to be one of the most fun champions to play so far. And I would say in the right hands, she can be pretty much a unstoppable powerhouse. In the right hands and with the right type of people and other champions backing her up, she can be pretty much unstoppable. So what I mean by that is, say if I were to have a team that had a support character to heal her for the most part and back her up, Ashe is really good at getting in on the point and knocking the other team back. I've noticed when I was playing her, and when it came to trying to capture the point, whenever they saw me coming, a lot of the other team members would back up. They would back up and start playing a little bit more defensively. Before I got to the point, all of the other opposite team were on point, or if they weren't on point, they were just out in the open, just leaning into my team, just firing everything they had, just taking no defensive measures, just out there going right into the heat of battle. But as soon as Ashe stepped in, started firing her burst cannon out there, people started backing up, they started hiding, they started running, because she hits pretty hard, I would say, especially for characters that are DPS and have like a low HP max point. She hits really freaking hard, especially if you do the kinetic burst and charge up the burst cannon even further. She hits hard enough to knock people back. So if you get in a situation where, say, most of your team is trying really hard to get on the point, but they're struggling because the point is filled with the enemy team with maybe like one person that's an outlier, Ashe can come in, hit the kinetic burst. Her knockback on the kinetic burst isn't like limited to one character or two characters. It affects everyone within the radius of the burst. So theoretically, you can knock back basically the entire enemy team off of the point and have it where your team can have an easier time to come in and like take back control of the point basically. And I noticed to be true because I did this quite a few times in the one game that I played with her. A lot of times the game started off like where we were coming from the bottom. The enemy team was just talking about getting like 47% above where we were on the capture point. And when I came in with Ashe, hit the knockbacks, and especially with her shoulder dash, her shoulder dash also knocks back the characters pretty hard, and people start to scatter when they see it charging up. But her shoulder dash and the kinetic burst combined help knock the enemies back quite a ways and get an opening for the enemy, for my team to come in and take the point back. And a lot of times that's how we ended up winning rounds, by taking the point back. Now with her ult, I'm not entirely sure if maybe it was just coincidence or anything, but it seems like her ult, in addition to like damaging anyone within a radius, it seems like it did a little bit of a knockback too. And it's pretty, I would say it's pretty useful as far as turning the tide, like what I was speaking on earlier with, you know, taking back control of the point. It seems pretty essential to turn in the tide and pretty useful in turning the game, instead of having it where you basically have a game where you're getting shut out by the enemy team and there's no chance for you to take the point back. Because like I said before, when I first played Paladins, I thought it was very comparable to Overwatch, but it's not. And I'll probably try to make a whole nother video on this, but one of the key differences between Paladins and Overwatch is that with Paladins, when you lock in a character at the beginning of the match, that's your character for the rest of the match. You can't change champions because you need to counter another champion that's on the opposite team or something, or try to force the opposite team to change their tactics because you're nailing them and working around their counter with a different champion. You have that same champion the whole game, and the only customization you have, or changing tactics really, you can try to have is through use of the card system, as well as the abilities that you can buy with credits during the game. Other than that, there's not really much you can do. If the team has the enemy team has a composition that's really kicking you guys' asses, if people aren't buying the right cards to supplement, buying the right abilities and stuff in between deaths or rounds and stuff to supplement the card loadout that they have chosen, then it's not really much you can do. You can't really change off to a different character and try to play a different role. You're stuck in that role until the very end. But like I said, I would say that Ashe is a pleasant addition to the game, considering it seems from my first game playing, at least as it pertains to playing the payload game modes, she's pretty much like a key piece in taking back points. That seems to be her strength so far. Taking back the points and knocking enemies back as far as possible and backing the enemy team up. And when it comes to game modes like Payload, you want to have a character that's good at backing enemies up. You want to have a character that's good at basically antagonizing the enemy team to a point where they don't feel as confident to just come running head first into battle, head first into the heat of everything, head first into the payload and trying to capture the point and just figuring they can come in and gun everyone down and that'll be the end of it. So overall, I will say that my experience playing with Ashe was really cool. I didn't expect, it was a pleasant surprise considering, like I said, she's a frontline character. I did not expect for her to be so fun as a frontline character. And I'm kind of glad that I did go in with that mindset that I wouldn't have any fun with her, because like I said, it was a very pleasant surprise to see her be so fun and turn out to be so fun. She's also one of the characters so far, I think, that I've gotten the most eliminations on, especially for it to have been only one game. I think I got like 20 eliminations in one game, in that one game, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it was some double-digit number that I have yet to surpass with any other character so far, at least by my memory. I don't even think I've passed 20 eliminations with Tyra, and she's pretty much my main for the first week of me playing the game. But yeah, I'm glad that they've added this character to the roster. I can't wait to see what's next. I think the next character that they're going to be coming out with is the next character that should be coming to consoles anyway is a character named Jin. I'm sorry if I messed that up. It's spelled Zhin. I assume it's supposed to be pronounced Jin. Once again, like I said, I'm sorry if I messed that up. He looks like he might be a interesting character to play. I think his main weapon is a sword that's on fire. But yeah, I actually watched some gameplay with him. But so it won't be as blind of a game, as blind of a first impression as it was with Ashe. I probably will try to avoid doing that for the next couple of characters, just so I can go in as blindly as possible and give as honest of a review. Now, this first time of me doing this was, if you couldn't tell already, this wasn't a live commentary. I may try to do a live commentary in the next one. I wanted to do it more this way because when I'm playing and trying to commentate on my thoughts on them, it's a little bit harder for me to focus in on anything because I'll get so sucked into the game. But yeah, this was overall my thoughts on Ashe and how she plays, and so far, great. Awesome character that's been added to the roster. Can't wait to see how I'll feel playing Jin, or Zin, or however he's pronounced. Can't wait to see what characters they come out with in the future. Like I said, I kind of kicking myself because I didn't think to do this with Willow, but I still can do it with Willow, I suppose, because I have yet to unlock and play her, so it's a possibility I may still do it, but I want to do it more so in the progression of the newer characters that are coming out. Now, if you guys would like to see me do this as a series for like all the characters in general, as opposed to just whatever the newer characters that are coming out over the summer, to my understanding they're going to be releasing a new character like every other update, I think, or it's either with every update for the next couple of months or every other update for the next couple of months. If you guys would only like to see it with the new characters, let me know. If you guys would love to see me do it with all of the characters, including the ones I have yet to play in the game, also let me know. I'm going to be trying to stream my progress with trying to level up enough characters to get into competitive play. If you guys are interested in seeing that, you can follow me on Twitch. My Twitch channel is the same name as my YouTube channel and my gamer tag, RockerGirl0902. And yeah, I can't necessarily give you guys a set date or time in which I will be doing that, but I really do want to do it and continue doing it that way because it was a lot of fun that first time. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to do plenty more like it. My next video will probably be that Overwatch comparison because I have a lot more insight into it now that I've played both games. As well as quite possibly a Battleborn comparison too, since that's gone free to play, or as they're calling it, free trial. And yeah, if you guys have any suggestions or what you want to see next, also feel free to leave that in a comment down below. If you like this video, if you agree with some of the things I said about playing Ashe, or if you have your own interpretations of playing Ashe, also comment down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. If you're forgot what I was gonna say for a second. Oh well, till next time, keep on rocking, guys.